The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
An American listener, a man from Montana and long-term Pompey fan, Dylan Torcoletti, has contacted us at Pompey Sound with some interesting thoughts and a very interesting question, which is worth us bouncing back at you, good listener. Have a hear of what he has to say.
Good evening, Tommy. I've been hurting today, and I was noticeably not myself at work. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. to listen to the match and haven't been able to shake the disappointment since. We still have plenty of time to turn it around, and I have faith in our manager and squad, but at this moment it seems so bleak. I believe we are building something special at Pompey, but the league is notably better than last, and we lack consistent quality to play at a high level. Do you agree the overall championship quality has improved since last season? I don't have much else to say other than I needed to vent my emotions to someone. Better days ahead. Play up. Pompey. Yours, Dylan.
Many thanks to Dylan for your spirit and your passion and a very interesting question. And I don't think I've heard it asked anywhere else. Is this season's championship markedly more challenging than last season's? And when I listened to Dylan's contribution and his question, I found myself kicking myself because there's possibly something in this, and yet nobody on this side of the good old pond had thought about it. Dylan's based in California, by the way, lives and works in California, but has been a Pompey fan for a long, long time now, since he was at college, in fact, when he broke away from the American tradition of baseball and gridiron and what have you. He found himself fascinated by football and doubly fascinated by Pompey. So he asks this question, and I want to ask it of you, good listener. I'll do our email address in just a second if you want to grab a pen or grab your device and put our address in and tell us whether you think Dylan is onto something. Our address is radiopompey@gmail.com. That's the email address that will get you straight through to the Pompey Sound studio. Radio Pompey, one word, upper lowercase doesn't matter these days, radiopompey@gmail.com. And thanks again to Dylan for a spirited email about Pompey's latest challenges and also a very interesting question which we're all thinking about now.
Yeah, the game was probably defined by that first 25 minutes where we started really slowly. We weren't at the races. We couldn't quite get to grips with the game tactically, and also just the fact that we lost second balls. We couldn't get the ball down and control it. We couldn't come out of any of those tighter situations with the ball, and Bristol City just did that far better than us. And we got to grips with it after that, but it was just too little too late. There's probably a number of factors. There's always going to be a number of factors there. It's got to be a multitude of things. Ultimately, it's up to me because I've got to set the side up in a certain way. I'm not talking about the tactical side of it. I'm just talking about the fact that whatever the message was, whatever we've done in the last couple of days, we've obviously gone out and produced that. So it's something that we have to have a serious look at. My take was that we'd be well primed to really get after Bristol City today, having stood here this time last week off the back of a really positive performance. So yeah, there's a lot of questions to answer. I haven't obsessed with the goal because I thought that the goal was probably coming at that point, and we'd had a couple of warning shots before that, and we hadn't heeded them. And by the time Bristol City went a goal ahead, I thought they deserved to. So the goal is definitely something we'll look at. But I thought there were many other areas of the game that we need to improve at that point. We switched Seggs and Lange over to have a bit more control in terms of picking up seconds in the middle of the park and get the press right. We hadn't got the press right at that point, and ultimately, regardless of the tactical side of the game, it was about actually making sure that we competed, because we hadn't competed for 25 minutes. We'd lost 50-50s, we'd lost headers, we looked slow, we looked sluggish, and all of a sudden, it took that intervention after 25 minutes to get us going, and it's impossible for that to be the case. We just have to be right at it from the word go. It's not acceptable. You can't get away with that in football. You just can't get away with having to wait for something to spark us into action, because ultimately, like today, it was just too late. Yeah, obviously that was a disappointment. The second half was a lot better, but ultimately we were chasing the game. Bristol City were sitting in at 1-0 down. We did have a couple of chances that we didn't put in the back of the net, which was unfortunate. But whether we did enough to get back in the game, I'm not sure. I thought we did have a couple of opportunities, but Bristol City did look positive on the counter-attack as well. But the disappointment won't be anything that we did or didn't do in the second half. It's how we started the game.
A slow start proved costly for Pompey, as they were edged out 1-0 by Bristol City in front of a packed Fratton Park. Enes Mehmeti's first-half header was enough to give the visitors the points, with Pompey only really finding their feet towards the end of the opening period. After the break, the Blues were much improved and carved out plenty of chances, but just couldn't find a way past a resolute Robins defence. John Mousinho shuffled his pack, making 3 changes from the team beaten at Sheffield United earlier in the week. One was forced, with Jordan Williams stepping in for the suspended Terry Devlin. Elsewhere, Callum Lang made a welcome first start since mid-August, and skipper Marlon Pack returned, with Florian Bianchini and Mark Kosznowski making way. But Pompey began sluggishly, and their opponents looked to capitalise right from the off, almost breaking the deadlock in the opening seconds. Scott Twine, already tumbling to the ground, managed to get a shot away but could only hook it wide of the post. Struggling to find any rhythm going forward, Pompey found themselves under plenty of pressure. Josh Murphy did whip in a dangerous cross that keeper Radek Vitek could only palm away, but the visitors managed to scramble it clear. The pressure told on 17 minutes. Neto Borges sent a cross into the box and Mehmeti met it with a firm, close-range header to put City ahead. Murphy drilled an effort wide at the other end, but it was City who looked the more likely to score again, much to the frustration of the Fratton faithful. After stealing possession, Mehmeti fired past the post before Nicholas Schmid had to get down well to save a drive from Emil Rees. As the half wore on, however, the tide began to turn. The Blues started to dominate possession and territory, though for all their control, they struggled to make it count in the final third. Colby Bishop did manage to get his head on a cross from the advancing Williams, but his effort was deflected wide. Just before the break, a golden chance went begging. Josh Knight found himself unmarked to meet Adrian Segecic's free kick, but could only nod his header over the bar. The chances kept coming straight after the restart. Andre Dizel fired a low ball across goal, and Bishop tried to bundle it home, only for Zach Viner to do just enough to keep it from crossing the line. The game had really opened up, with the action flying from one end to the other. A superb challenge from Zach Swanson halted one City attack, before Schmid was called into action again to keep out Mehmeti's angled strike. Meanwhile, the home side were growing increasingly unhappy with referee Sam Allison, and Murphy's protests earned him a yellow card. Mousinho looked to his bench on 52 minutes, bringing on Kosznowski for Dizel in the middle of the park. Murphy was proving to be Pompey's biggest threat, and another excellent cross from him found Lang at the back post, but his header sailed over. The pressure continued to build. When Vitek could only punch a Segecic corner clear, the ball fell to Murphy, whose half volley flew narrowly wide. The Blues had to stay switched on at the back though, with Regan Paul making a vital block from Mehmeti after a quick free kick from Twine. Having only recently returned from injury, it was no surprise to see Lang's game come to an end on 72 minutes, with Mackenzie Kirk coming on to replace him. The substitute was soon in the thick of it, getting a low shot away from a long pack throw-in that Vitek managed to save. With time running out, Mousinho threw caution to the wind with a triple change, bringing on Minjio Yang, John Swift and Connor Chaplin for Segecic, Williams and Swanson. The switch saw Pack drop into a back three as Pompey committed men forward. A great chance followed when Chaplin threaded a neat ball through to Bishop, but Vitek came to City's rescue with a smart save. Moments later, a deflected shot from Chaplin fell to Knight in the box, but the centre-back could only nod wide. Pompey were throwing the kitchen sink at it, and Kirk had a strong shout for a penalty after being nudged in the back, but in the end, time simply ran out.
The league position is something we're concerned with, but the bigger issue is the way we played in that first 25 minutes at home. We were really poor and couldn't get to grips with the game. There's the tactical side of the game, the movement and the way they were playing, but ultimately the bigger disappointment was we couldn't get to grips with winning challenges, headers and winning second balls against them. For that period, and when they got the goal, they were just better than us. They were miles better than us. But then when we decided we want to have a go, we were better. And that's just not acceptable from us. It's not really acceptable that we've shown two sides of that performance. The game probably looked the same for me as everyone else at the stadium. It was far too easy for Bristol City to do what they did. We tried to make that intervention, but it clearly wasn't enough of an intervention. There's plenty of time in the season, there's no panic, and there's plenty of games to come between now and Christmas. The league is what it is now. The more important thing is what the league is at the back end of the season. The bigger concern for me is that 25-minute spell.